A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. Great to have you with us once again. Joining us on the program here in just a couple minutes, Mr. David Campbell is going to join us. Official out in Effingham County, Illinois, which was one of the first counties. I think it may have been county number 2. It may have been county number 1. Still some dispute over that. But the first or second county in the country to declare itself a Second Amendment Sanctuary. Since that moment, about a year and a half ago, we have seen this movement take off around the nation, including in Virginia, where we now have more than 100 communities that have declared themselves to be Second Amendment sanctuaries. Unfortunately, Amelia County, Virginia, is not going to be one of them. Because supervisors in Amelia County last night, I think, just behaved deplorably, and not in a good way, not a good kind of deplorable. So I'm still ticked about what I saw last night. This is the 10th Second Amendment sanctuary vote that I went out to, and this is the last one that I had planned on going to. And as it turns out, there wasn't even a vote on the Second Amendment sanctuary resolution at all. It was about a month ago I went out to Amelia County when residents, I had gotten a tip that residents were going to be out there asking for a vote. Went out to the Amelia County Courthouse where the meeting was held. There were hundreds of folks in the courthouse square. There were at least double that number last night, packed into the auditorium at the Amelia County High School. And unfortunately, what happened was supervisors convened the meeting at 7 o'clock. They said, okay, public comment, anything but public comment, they said, is only for things that are not on the agenda, which, by the way, is not what it says on the county's website in terms of the public comment period. But they said only items that are not on tonight's agenda are up for public comment. So that precluded anybody from talking about the Second Amendment sanctuary movement or the resolution that was before the commissioners or the supervisors there in Amelia County. You had a couple of folks talk about non-related issues. And then a member of the Board of Supervisors made a motion to adopt a resolution. There were some sound problems in the auditorium, so the sound kept cutting out. There were no written copies of the resolution that I saw. So I think it was the county clerk ended up reading this resolution to the crowd. His mic keeps cutting in and out. People are having a hard time hearing it. I'm straining to listen, and I don't hear the phrase Second Amendment sanctuary anywhere in that resolution. So after they read that resolution, and again, folks having a real hard time understanding, then another county commissioner says, well, listen, I just want to say a couple things here that, I believe for the Second Amendment and, I'm opposed to any new gun laws. Great speech, but again, didn't talk about declaring the county a Second Amendment sanctuary. A motion was then made to adopt the resolution. It was quickly approved, 5-0, and then the board adjourned or recessed the meeting and went on to other business. And most of the crowd cleared out, not having any idea that the resolution that had passed was a watered-down version of what they had been demanding. I've written about this at Bearing Arms. I'm not going to litigate all of what I have talked about and written about at bearingarms.com, but I was so annoyed when I got home Wednesday night by what I had seen, just this railroading by county officials, that I called up our guest, David Campbell in Effingham County, Illinois, just so I could vent. I figured David, being a county official, he would understand my frustration, and he did. And he joins us on the program right now to talk about the Second Amendment sanctuary movement, what to do when counties don't go as far as Second Amendment supporters would like, and what happens when counties do adopt these Second Amendment sanctuary resolutions. What happens next? Take a look and a listen. Well, David, first of all, not only thank you for joining me on the program today, but thank you for letting me vent last night after I got back from the Amelia County Board of Supervisors meeting in Virginia.
Well, thanks for having me on, Cam. And yes, it did sound like that was a eventful supervisors board meeting that you attended last night.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this is not the first time in Virginia that we've seen a county kind of chicken out and adopt a watered-down resolution rather than declaring themselves a Second Amendment sanctuary. I'm sure you all have seen this in Illinois as well. It was the first time I've seen it, though, and I'd been to, I think this was my 10th County Board of Supervisors meeting, and it just, it rubbed me the wrong way. So I've written about it. Hopefully I've gotten the message out there. But, you've watched this movement really spread from Effingham County all across the country. And I'm sure that there have been setbacks, there have been disappointments. What is your advice to folks out there who want to see their counties do the right thing, who want to see their counties declare themselves a Second Amendment sanctuary, but their county officials are hesitant or cautious or just maybe don't want to take that step?
Well, I have seen that, and also in Illinois, I've seen it. There's been a handful of counties that have the watered down version, like you say, and they don't want to put the word sanctuary in the resolution. What we've seen, or what we've recommended and done, and actually we've got, I think there's 8 or 9 counties that are going to put this question on a ballot referendum, and it will override. What in our area we call them county officials. I think you call them supervisors there. But it will override what they want in that county. If the voter turnout's good and the voter comes in and says we want this referendum to say that we are a sanctuary resolution, and the way to establish that, and I think it will work the same way in your area over there in your counties. You look at the last voter turnout of the last election, and you have to have 60% of those voters sign a petition to say you want this on the next ballot. But you have to go out, have petitions signed. It's not an easy task.
Yeah.
But, it's got done in 8 or 9 counties here, and it will be going on the primary ballot coming up. So it can be done. It's just going to take a little legwork to get it done. If you want to override what in your case, what the supervisors did there, that's an option.
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting, too, that, you still have that going on in Illinois a year and a half after the Second Amendment Sanctuary movement really took off and started spreading into your state. You still have those counties that are continuing to take action, these citizen-led endeavors, which I guess kind of brings me to my next question. We have now in Virginia more than 100 Second Amendment sanctuaries, or in a few counties again that have declared their support for the Second Amendment, but haven't officially declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries. We're a few weeks away from the legislature kicking off. I'm just curious, what is the next step for these counties after a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution has been passed? Because one of the things that I'd hate to see is for this energy to just dissipate for those hundreds of folks, in some cases thousands of folks who've turned out for their supervisors meeting and gotten that resolution there on the books. I'd hate to see them just go home and think that that's all that they need to do.
No, absolutely not. This is the beginning. So, like you said, it's all at grassroots level, and where it goes from here, we've got 9. I think we've got 8 or 9 pretty strong states now that have passed sanctuary resolutions. Illinois, Virginia, Texas, Colorado. And there's a lot of other states working on them right now. And I think once we get established, and my hat's off to Virginia. Man, you got 100 over in less than
in about a month.
Days.
Yeah,
and it's just amazing how fast that spread. But once those are established, you can't quit. We've got to keep moving. We've got to network. We've got to work together as far as once you get your counties established. I think we're reaching over to other states. And the states have got to start grouping together then. And we've got to take this all the way to the federal level to let those legislators know. This is a shot letting our local and state officials know that we're not going to stand for our Second Amendment rights to be infringed upon. Once we group all this together, we've got to take it to the next level and make sure that we group together a state and take this on up to the federal level. But I like to live, I don't know if you've ever heard of the 4-box principle. It's used to preserve our liberty and defend our liberty. Mm-hmm. It's the soapbox, the ballot box, the jury box, and the ammo box.
Yep.
Everybody kind of lives by that. I think that's what we've got to do here. We got the soapbox for freedom of speech. We've got the ballot box, gives us the right to vote. The jury box for nullification of any unjust laws, and the ammo box, which we don't want to have to use, but it's there to help us defend and protect our right to bear arms. So we've got to start living by those principles. And the hardest one that I see, that I want to see happen, and this is where we're going to really win, is if we can use that ballot box. We've got to get our young voters registered and people that aren't registered to vote. And get these guys like Northam, in your case, Northam, and some of the other hardcore liberals out of office. It's just amazing, even in Illinois, how many people that are registered to vote, and our poor turnout for these votes. We've only got usually 30% is the top, and all these other voters are sitting there complaining that about the laws that are just getting passed by these liberals, and it's their fault. They don't get out there and vote them out. We've got to get these people registered. We've got to get them. I don't know what's so hard about it. It's the easiest thing to do, but it seems like it's the hardest thing to accomplish. And that's where we really. We really got to hit upon.
And I could not agree with you more on that. I was talking yesterday with Delegate Nick Freitas from Virginia, and he told me that if we had a difference of 5,000 votes across the entire state of Virginia, that pro-gun lawmakers would still be in control of the state legislature coming up in January. I mean, that's how close a lot of these races were. And again, even in those races, you're looking at turnout of 45%. I mean, it was high for a Virginia election, but it's still not even 50% of the eligible voters out there. So you're right. There is that untapped reservoir of Second Amendment support that we do have to tap into and get those folks registered, get them engaged. I was really pleased last night to hear somebody in Amelia County, a resident, stand up and talk about how, we got to have these types of crowds out here for more than just this issue, that we've got to be engaged citizens, and it can't just be on the Second Amendment. We have to be showing up. We have to be present. We have to be voting. And again, I think that we do have to do a much better job, generally speaking, of getting out there and using that ballot box, because when we show up, if all 100 million American gun owners got out there and voted in defense of their right to keep and bear arms in the next election, that would be a sea change, I think, politically, and the gun control advocates would in most states disappear as a political threat.
I agree with you 100%, Cam. We probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now if everybody was out there voting like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be in the predicament we're in now, and that's got to change. We've got to make sure, and it's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing that we've got on our plate to do, and people have just got to get up and do it. It's the bottom line. Another thing, that we've been doing also is working with our law enforcement, getting our state attorneys and our sheriffs to stand up and actually make public comments. And I think that's a part of this right now, since we're in the predicament we're in. Mm-hmm. It's important to have those people stand up. Not only our grassroots guys, which are doing a great job of standing up and projecting our need to protect our Second Amendment rights, but we're getting more and more sheriffs and state attorneys to do that, and that's what's got to happen too.
And it's interesting. I mean, one of the things that we've seen in Virginia here, you've got a lot of, obviously gun control advocates and politicians who are saying, well, you can't decide what laws you're going to enforce. We actually have a couple of prosecutors in the state of Virginia that have already come out and said, listen, we're not enforcing marijuana charges. You bring a case of somebody who got busted with an ounce of pot, we're not going to prosecute that. And there's been no objection from Democrats when it comes to not enforcing those laws. So I think that honestly, they've sort of given us a playbook on how to respond, and we get to do what they've been doing for the past couple of years when it comes to some of these other issues. If you've got a prosecutor that says, listen, I think these marijuana laws are hurting people, these are nonviolent possessory offenses, so I'm not going to bring any charges. Okay, that's fine, but what's the difference between that and a prosecutor who says, listen, somebody who's just caught possessing a 20-round magazine in violation of state law, not a violent criminal, an otherwise legal law-abiding gun owner, justice isn't served by bringing this case forward. What's the difference there, David?
Oh, there is.
I mean, other than in one case you're talking about a constitutional right.
That's the case. That's the difference. There's a constitutional right. That's exactly what I was going to say, because that is the big difference. It's the constitutional right to bear arms in our Second Amendment. It's amazing. We get the same thing here, exactly what you just said, and it's they don't like it when we flip the script. Definitely do not like it.
Well, they don't have to like it, but I do want to point out those double standards, and frankly, try to get rid of the double standard. There should be one standard, and if that's going to be the standard, that there is that discretion on the part of law enforcement, okay, then that's the standard that we're going to use. And I don't have an issue with that. But what I do have an issue with is saying, well, they get discretion here, but they don't get discretion over there because I don't like those gun owners, and that does seem to be what is taking place. Last question for you here. You talked before about the 8 or 9 states that we have seen where this movement has really taken off, and it is incredible to see. I mean, we're now seeing it spread to Kentucky. New Jersey has a Second Amendment sanctuary, and you've got a lawmaker who's asking 2 more counties to declare themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries in New Jersey. It does seem to me that this is becoming a phenomena all on its own. This is something, as you pointed out earlier, that this is happening at the grassroots level, at the real local level. But word is getting out. People are seeing these news stories about what's happening in other states or in other counties, and they're really adopting this and taking this to heart. And it just seems like I think 2020 is going to be a huge year for this movement.
I agree 100%. I think they're reaching out to people like you, me. I just got a call from Florida. We're working with a couple counties down there, trying to get those turned into sanctuary resolution counties. State of Washington, they've been working hard out there. I keep staying in contact with those folks. Mm-hmm. It's a fast growing movement. Not as fast as Virginia. I mean, Virginia just took off like crazy. Nobody's going to be able to keep that pace, I don't think. But it'd be nice to see.
Well, listen, the more the merrier. Folks are. I would love to be, the second fastest growing state for the Second Amendment sanctuary movement. I'd be okay getting knocked off of first place here, because we do want. I hope anyway that folks are inspired by what's happening here and will take this message and bring it to their states.
They have to. I think they have to. Like you said, these other states are kind of seeing this. And here's the big fear. I think this is part of what happened at Amelia County is the fear of upper states, the bigger, not the local government, but the state level government taking away funding. They can't do that to all the counties. I mean, we've got over 70 counties in Illinois. They're not going to go around and take the funding away from each county just because we stood up for our rights. And I think that's some of the fear out there that is probably some of what you experienced last night at Amelia County, and you just got to stand up and stand up for our rights and not fear that kind of thing.
I think you're right, and look, it might not even be an unreasonable fear. However, that would be bullying on the part of these legislators to do that if they did try to yank funding from counties that said we're going to stand up in support of our constitutional rights. That's a news story in and of itself. And it's going to be the legislators that are the villains of that story. It's not going to be the counties. And I understand as well that, a lot of these county commissioners, at least the ones that I've talked to, they don't typically deal in Virginia with controversial votes, right? There a lot of times, 99% of the time when there's a county supervisors meeting, there are probably 12 people there. 8 of them are probably county employees or are speaking to the county officials about, one particular subject or another. This is not a position in Virginia anyway where a lot of hot button issues come before these supervisors. However, having said that, there is a hot button issue before them now, and they cannot abdicate their responsibility. We had a speaker in Prince Edward County here in Farmville the other night who said, listen, I understand that you all may think that this is a meaningless vote, that it doesn't matter, it doesn't change anything. And he said, I want you to look out at the faces of everyone here tonight and understand that it matters to us, that we're here because your vote and your voice matters to us. Are you going to stand with us? Are you going to stand up for us? Or are you not? And we actually had a strong Second Amendment sanctuary resolution passing 5-3 in Prince Edward County. And I like to think that that gentleman's remarks may have had an impact on those folks. Whether or not you got into your elected role to fight for the constitutional rights of your residents, in Virginia anyway, and a lot of other states around the country, that's what we need you to do right now, whether that's why you ran or not.
Yeah, and you're right on with that, Cam, because they're not used to seeing those kind of turnouts. Even in ours, you're right. We only have 10 or 12 people maybe show up at any given time. they're not used to seeing these hundreds and sometimes even thousands of faces in front of them. And we're the ones putting those people in those seats to make those decisions for us, and they're seeing that now. And I think it's starting to send a strong message across the whole country that I think it's starting to wake them up. And again, it goes back to the ballot box. We have got to make sure that people are out there voting to get the right people in those spots to make the right decisions, the decisions that we would make for ourselves and for our kids.
Yep. And in many cases, that means that some of us are actually going to have to step up and run. You know, if we don't see that, if we don't see those candidates in our counties or in our communities, well, we might have to step up and be that candidate.
I did. I did in our community, and I think it's going to take some strong-willed people to do that. And people that want to preserve our not only our Second Amendment rights but all our constitutional rights, that have that mindset. That's the kind of people we need in office. And now's the time. Don't wait. Now's the time to start, cultivating those people, getting them ready to run for office, and get out the ones that are causing the problems and not voting to uphold the Constitution.
Absolutely.
Don't sit around and wait. It's not going to happen on its own, folks. You got to get out there. You got to work at it a little bit. It's not hard, but you got to work at it a little bit and get the right people in there. And we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, hopefully one day we can put this conversation to rest because our Second Amendment rights will be safe and secure. But that is not the case today. David, listen, thank you so much for coming on the program. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and good luck shoveling that snow there in Effingham County.
Hey, thanks a lot, Cam. Merry Christmas to you and your listeners, and keep up the good fight. And we're in the middle with everyone else. So, if anybody needs any help on anything, we're here to help. So,
appreciate it.
Have a good Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
You too, sir. David Campbell joins from the Effingham County Board there in Effingham County, Illinois. All right, let's get to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day, our recidivist report. In fact, we'll start there from TMZ. Yes, it is a case of celebrity justice. The rapper NBA Youngboy has taken a plea deal in an assault and kidnapping case. Now, those are some pretty serious charges, but he's not facing serious charges anymore. According to TMZ, the rapper pled guilty to misdemeanor simple battery family violence. In exchange, prosecutors dropped the charges of kidnapping and aggravated assault. That's according to the Ware County DA's office in Georgia. The rapper will avoid jail time. He has been sentenced to 12 months probation, fined $1,500, must attend anger management classes, and have no, quote, violent contact with the victim, his girlfriend. No violent contact. Well, I would think the violent contact would be illegal to begin with. I can't believe that's a term of his probation. TMZ reports that the rapper body slammed his girlfriend back in February 2018 before dragging her back inside his hotel room. They say surveillance footage captured the moment, but his girlfriend insisted they were just engaged in horseplay. Grand jury handed down a 2-count indictment for aggravated assault and kidnapping. The girlfriend did not want to press charges, as is often the case, by the way, in domestic assault cases. The victim is afraid of retribution, and it does become difficult to prosecute a case if you don't have the cooperation of the victim. The Ware County DA, George Barnhill, said that she refused to come to court, told the DA's office that she would not testify if she were brought into court against her will. Barnhill says, quote, "We resolved the case as best we could without her cooperation." So there you go. All right, on to our armed citizen story of the day, also from Georgia, WSB Channel 2 in Atlanta, Georgia, on a homeowner in Brookhaven in DeKalb County who shot and killed a burglary suspect Wednesday afternoon. It happened around noon. WSB says officials are talking to the homeowner to find out exactly what happened, but it appears that the homeowner interrupted the burglar inside of his home. Police telling Channel 2 that the man has a right to defend himself. Deputy Chief Brandon Gurley says that the homeowner is, quote, not identified as a suspect. But as the investigation moves forward, we'll have to see where the facts lead us, he says. One neighbor told the WSB that the gunfire sounded like it came from 2 different guns. Police didn't say whether or not the burglar had a weapon. Police working to identify the suspect. Second time in 24 hours that a homeowner shot an intruder. We've got a story of bearing arms right now about a woman in Rockdale County who was forced to defend herself after a pair of armed men broke into her home. She was wounded in that attack, airlifted to a local hospital, but she did fire shots in return. Police believe at least one of those suspects were hit. On to our good deed of the day. You ready for this? From JerseyShoreOnline.com. Story of an off-duty police officer in the Garden State of New Jersey. Officer Jonathan Woolley is an officer in Howell, New Jersey. He was getting a workout in. I think this was Wednesday morning, and he saw an 85-year-old man collapse. The police chief there in Howell, New Jersey, says Officer Woolley, without hesitation, began a patient assessment, determined that the male was not breathing, had no pulse, was turning purple. Officer Woolley was assisted by a trainer who's actually a former police officer. The pair jumped into action, began performing chest compressions and CPR on the man, shocked the man with an automated external defibrillator, continued treatment until Brick Police, EMS, and paramedics arrived on scene. And they saved this man's life. Short time later, the 85-year-old was responsive, doing well. Chief Kudrick there in Howell, New Jersey, says it's another example of how police officers are always on duty and always ready to help those in need of assistance. In this incident, he said, two officers worked together to save a man's life. Officer Woolley, 15-year veteran of the Howell Police Department, currently part of the Professional Development Group, also serving as a motor officer and a member of the Monmouth County SWAT team, in the right place at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing. We thank you for your good deed, Officer Woolley. That is going to do it for this edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. I want to thank you for being a part of the program. Don't forget, tomorrow, got an all-email edition. You are going to be the ones keeping me company on Friday's Cam & Company, so you can send me your questions, your comments. Cam.edwards@bearingarms.com. Now, listen, you want to talk Second Amendment Sanctuary stuff, we can certainly do that. I know it's a big topic of conversation these days, but you have any other questions or comments, send those along as well. Happy to get to as many of them as we can. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thanks for being a part of today's program. Don't forget, you can subscribe to Bearing Arms Cam & Company at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, townhall.com podcast page, also Town Hall Media at YouTube, and you can become a VIP member of Bearing Arms as well. You can sign up on the website, get exclusive content, commentary, and much more. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.